go.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to WGL live from GAT Guns. I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thank you very much for joining us. We are here for Factory Shoot at the one, the only, except no substitute. This is Illinois' premier gun club. And, of course, I am talking about GAT Guns right here in beautiful East Dundee, Illinois. And I want to put a huge kudos and big shout out to all the wonderful people here at GAT Guns who have not only put on one amazing event here with their factory shoot, but Nicole, who's a superstar over there, was able to help with a pivot. We had a sponsor or one of our people who were supposed to put together an event for us not quite come through, and she managed to fill the room on Monday night. So we will be back here all day tomorrow, and we will be back on Monday for a class. We'll teach you all how to stay out of prison. You guys come over here all the time and practice to stay out of the morgue. Let's come on over here and have you learn, and we'll keep you out of prison as well. Real quick, another big thank you today to the good folks over at Right to Bear. They are sponsoring this entire event, and they are the ones that paid for me to be out here. They're paying for me to run all around this state. So big kudos to Right to Bear. If you're going to come by GAT Guns, come on by. Say hi to the folks at Right to Bear. Finally, a couple other announcements. We are on our Illinois road trip. I want you all to come by and see us. If you're in any one of these locations, please come on by. Hang out with Washington Gun Law. We're going to be here all the way through Monday night. Then we're going to head down to Bartonville, Bloomington, Quincy, East Alton, fly home from St. Louis. We have a man down, or woman down, I should say. That's our Vice President of Sales. That's Lana Bryan. Hopefully she's at home watching us. Lana, get well soon. She was supposed to be here, but she cannot make it due to some health issues that she's recovering from, so we're going to make without her. Listen, I'm going to go a little out of order here because we got a couple of guests already waiting, and they're very important people, and they got very busy schedules. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about when we did this show is I wanted to make this show all really, really Illinois-centric. And as you guys know, you got a big election coming up in November, and I don't know how to break it to you, Illinois, but your state government kind of sucks. And it starts at the top with your governor, and it works its all the way down. And you've had this problem. It's a persistent problem you've had in the state for a long time, and we're going to have to do something about it. And we're going to have two individuals joining us today, Darren Bailey and Aaron Delmar, two GOP candidates running for governor and lieutenant governor. And Illinois, listen, if you want to change the direction you're going, if you want to stop the insanity in this state, you have a lot of insanity. These are two people you need to get behind. We're going to get Aaron on in just a moment. Then we're going to get Darren on here in just a moment too. And then I'll kind of come back and talk about some of the other things that you guys are really worried about. But without further ado, what I want to do is I want to get Mr. Aaron Delmar on the stage. Aaron, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Appreciate you having me on the show, buddy. I'm so excited to be
here as well. We're having a little bit of an audio issue, but I'm going to read your lips and I can hear you a little bit. You are coming through. I know you're coming through the channel, and that's what matters most. Hey, thanks a million for being here. Why don't you just tell everyone a little bit about Aaron Delmar and why Aaron Delmar deserves to be the next lieutenant governor of the state of Illinois?
Well, you know, like so many other people, I started getting involved in politics because I was unhappy with what was happening in my local community. Truly a grassroots beginning. And I got involved being a city councilman in my hometown of Palatine, Illinois, 60,000 people. So not too big, not too small, just suburban right here in Cook County. And, people liked what I said because I wasn't polished. I wasn't, finessing anything. I was just straight talking. And I started just kind of moving up the ranks. People asked me, they're like, hey, we'd love to take you. And could you do this for our township? So I ran on the township level. Then I ran as the Cook County Republican chairman, co-chairman of the Illinois GOP. And now I'm honored to be the running mate for Darren Bailey and our Take Our State Back tour here with the Bailey Del Mar campaign. It's been really wonderful.
Listen, we really appreciate you taking time. We know this campaign season, you're really busy. You and I had a chance to talk a little bit before we went live, and even though the focus of my channel is Second Amendment and Second Amendment stuff, I really wanted to talk. I wanted to take more of a 35,000-foot view with both you and Darren. I didn't want to just talk about the issues related to the lack of Second Amendment rights that exist here in the state of Illinois, and people who watch my channel are abundantly aware of it, and we'll have plenty more opportunities. I kind of wanted to talk more, take a bigger view, and I kind of wanted to start with this. I did a little research about some stuff that's going on in Illinois. What's the quality of life if you're an Illinois resident? And I got to be honest with you, Aaron, it was a little disheartening. Take this here. You guys got a projected $2.2 billion budget shortfall. What's going on? And when Aaron Del Mar is lieutenant governor and Darren Bailey is governor, what's going to be different? What are you guys going to do different?
Well, number one is going to be affordability. I mean, it's completely unacceptable that in Illinois right now, you have a property tax bill that's higher than your mortgage payment, right? And for those that are fortunate enough to pay off their house, are basically renting their home from the government. And it's just gotten out of control. And the way that we fund education and the way that we fund different programs in Illinois have just ballooned over the current governor, J.B. Pritzker. And I really lay that on his hands. There's an environment where Illinois should be and could be the greatest state and the greatest country that has ever been, the world's ever seen. But they lack the intestinal fortitude to govern with conservative values and to make life affordable. So you're seeing an outbound flight, an out-migration of residents of Illinois headed to red states because it's simply not affordable to live here. And when you do that, you're leaving that property tax burden, they're leaving that sales tax burden, they're leaving that income tax burden on the residents that can't just pick up their farm for 5 generations and move on out. And that has just been replicating over and over. We lost a congressional seat because 250,000 people left and no one took their spot. And we're projected to lose another congressional seat because another 250,000 people are right behind him. And that's just not sustainable. And Darren and I are ready to lead. We're ready to govern. We're ready to start turning this big, bloated ship around and take our state back.
Yeah. I'm assuming that your state's much like my state, that these budget problems, they will tell you that they have a revenue problem, but they don't have a revenue problem. And we'll go over taxes here in a moment. They got a spending problem down there in Springfield, don't they?
They do. I mean, our budget when J.B. Pritzker took over was about $28 billion. Now it's over doubled. It's about $55 billion. He's calling for a 0.5% tax increase, which is another $1.5 billion. He just keeps around millions and billions like they're pocket change. And maybe they are for a guy like him, but for the rest of us grassroots activists, for us of us that have to live under this oppression, it just simply doesn't work. And it's time for people to stand up. It's time for people to take their voice and make it heard and not just sit around and complain about it, but get up and do something about it. And that's exactly what Darren Bailey and I are doing.
You were talking about affordability, which is not unique to Illinois. There's a lot of states struggling with affordability issue, although I think your problem is a lot more acute here in Illinois than other states. Depending on which survey you're looking at, you are either number 2 or number 1 in property taxes. Now, I'm a firm believer in home ownership. I think home ownership is one of the easiest paths to creating individual and family wealth. I think it also is very important to family stability and building a family culture. When you got property taxes like this, plus all the other taxes, plus probably a high cost of real estate in general, it sure makes first-time home buying very difficult in Illinois, and that's hard to start building new generations if you're not having homeowners. What do you and Darren want to do to help with home affordability here in this state?
Well, you hit it right on the head. The path to a first-time homeowner is incredibly difficult, and it's burdensome here in Illinois. And what we're seeing is that, like our children, like my 2 oldest sons that just graduated college, one of them's for sure not coming back. He's like, Dad, in Iowa or Indiana, where I can get a higher-paying job, I have access to better housing, I have access to, so more that is affordable for a limited budget for a kid that's just getting into the workforce. It's hard for me to come home. And as much as it breaks my heart, I understand. When you have Indiana that's got a 1% freeze on property taxes, where you cannot be assessed more than 1% of the value of your home, I can understand why people want to go. And when you're looking at a house in Indiana, say you're looking to buy a $350,000 single family house, and you look compared to Illinois and Indiana, you're getting a lot bigger house and you're getting a significantly smaller tax bill, right? $3,500 a year versus $16,000 a year. there's really no competition. When we don't have competition, nobody wants to come here. Nobody wants to build a business here. Nobody wants to develop that generational wealth. And we need to create an environment where Illinoisans aren't just surviving. We need to create an environment where they're thriving.
Yes.
And that is that's the dream that Darren and I have. We want to make Illinois a place where people are proud to say they're from Illinois and not ashamed.
Well, and you talk about a state with a proud, rich history and massive contributions to the United States of America going all the way back. The state does have a tremendous amount of potential, and it's all being squandered right now.
You're 100% right. I mean, Illinois has some of the biggest
issues. What are the three big things when you guys get into Springfield, when you're in office? What are the three things you want to tackle right away?
That's real easy. The first one, like we mentioned, is affordability. You know what I mean? Making sure that people can thrive in Illinois, not just survive. Number two is public safety. I joke with Darren because he lives on a farm in Southern Illinois. There's probably not a whole lot of drive-by shootings or crime that are happening on your multi-acre farm, but that's different than the city of Chicago and in the suburban areas and the Metro East. Public safety has gone out of control because you got the worst mayor in the country, Brandon Johnson, letting criminals just in the revolving door, right? They arrest somebody and the criminal's out before the paperwork's even done, right? The Safety Act here in Illinois is not keeping anybody safe. And then the third thing is education. I grew up in the city of Chicago, and I was ashamed to say this back when I was in fourth grade, and I'm still ashamed at 47 to tell you, I couldn't read, I couldn't write, and I couldn't count at a fourth grade level. And the saddest part about the whole thing is that that's still happening to our fourth graders today. So we want to work on affordability. We want to work on that public safety, making sure that the number one goal of Illinoisans in government is keeping their people safe. And we want to make sure that our kids have access to a quality education. So that way, when they graduate high school, if they go into the military, if they go into trade school, if they go to college, because college isn't for everybody, or if they go directly into the workforce, they have whatever skills they need to be successful on that next step. And that's something that Darren and I are 100% committed to making happen.
All right. Listen, I know you got another campaign event to be to. You're running around like a chicken with your head cut off. Real quick, for all those that want to get behind Darren Bailey and Aaron Del Mar for governor and lieutenant governor, how can they get in the fight today? How can they help you guys out?
Well, if you live in the great state of Illinois, if you get out there before March 17th and punch a ticket for Bailey Del Mar, that is the first and most important thing we can get you to do. Number two, if you're in a position to be able to help financially, if you're in Washington and you're like, hey, I want to help out our brothers and sisters in Illinois, and I want to really do my part, you can go for BaileyForIllinois.com. Again, that's BaileyForIllinois.com. Drop $5, $10, $15. You know what I mean? That's like, one stop at McDonald's, but really there's a lot around here when you're running against the richest elected official in the United States. And we're going to make it happen. Every dollar that you donate to our campaign is going to be used efficiently. It's going to be used to grow the grassroots. It's going to grow infrastructure, and it's going to help all of our brothers and sisters here in Illinois take our state back.
All right. God bless. Hey, listen, thanks a million for jumping on the channel with me. It was great. I got to hang with you in person, got to meet you in person. I'm going to be rooting for you. If there's anything that Washington Gun Law can do for you and Darren, you just got to let me know. All right.
Yeah, I can tell you one thing right now. If you could get everyone in Illinois that has a FOID card, in Illinois that has a FOID card, even if we got 75%, we win our state by 300,000 votes. So if you're in Illinois and you want to see that FOID card go away, you want to make that extra tax in Illinois go away, because the FOID card does nothing in Illinois but tax you. If you want to save that money, make sure to punch for Bailey Del Mar, because that's one of the first things that we're going after when we get in office. That extra tax and that FOID card are out the door.
You're the best, man. Hey, congratulations. I look forward to interviewing you guys again in November when you're governor and lieutenant governor elect.
That's right. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for being here. Take care.
Take care.
All right. He was Aaron Del Mar. He will be your next lieutenant governor. And, while we're talking about how we're going to change Illinois, we probably should bring on the person who's really going to help change the state of Illinois. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Darren Bailey, your next governor of the great state of Illinois. Mr. Bailey, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, William, thank you so much for having us on. And man, I wish I could be up there at GAT Guns and experience all the new everything you guys are doing up there. It has been amazing several days.
Hey, tell everybody a little bit about Darren Bailey, how he got involved in Illinois politics, and why Darren Bailey should be the next governor of this great state.
Absolutely. Well, I've born and raised in Southern Illinois. I farm. My family, we operate 12,000 acres, corn, soybeans, and wheat, have a trucking business and an excavating business. Our family all lives here, and none of us have moved out, and we're going to fight to stay. So basically, one thing that separates me from everyone else is Aaron kind of mentioned that this ground up approach. When my wife and I saw a problem in our local schools, I ran for school board, and I served on the school board in our local schools for 17 years. And after that, we opened up an alternative, a private school, Christian school, and then finally, when my state representative in 2017 started supporting tax increases, I got a little mouthy. I did the American thing, and I went on Facebook and started complaining. And we need to be careful with that. You need to be ready to put your money where your mouth is. So friends that knew us in our district began to come to me and say, "Why don't you be our state rep?" And I kind of pushed back for that for a while, but we eventually jumped in. I won that race 60-40, was outspent 10-1 because the current party tried to keep him, and so I served a term. That was 2020. We had this small event happen called COVID. The state of Illinois got shut down. I sued the governor. I won that lawsuit. We went around the state and told businesses, churches, guys, government didn't shut you down. You closed your doors. We're Americans. We're free. And then so that put me. I ran for the Senate position, won that, and then in 2022. I was the Republican nominee, Trump endorsed candidate here in Illinois, but unfortunately, sadly enough, we only had a 43% turnout. You and Aaron kind of alluded on that a little bit earlier. There's this apathy problem that we have in Illinois, and people think their vote doesn't count. They think it's rigged. They think it doesn't matter, and that's what's hurting us. And if we could get FOID card holders, like Aaron said, he nailed it. If we could get if we could push a 60% turnout.
Yeah, let me ask you about that, because I went over and talked to the folks at ISRA a little while ago, and I said, "Hey, what percentage of FOID card holders do you think vote in this election?" They didn't really know, but they thought it was somewhere around 25-30%. Do you happen to know what it is?
No, I'd say that would be correct, because 43% turnout, obviously. I mean, see, that represents both parties. That's a total.
You're telling me that basically 6 or 7 out of 10 FOID card holders aren't even getting into the ball.
I would believe that. I think they're correct. We don't have any exact proof of that, but too often they're the people, kind of common sense people, that think they're rebelling against the system. They're frustrated, and they just throw their hands up and they say, "Well, we'll show you. We just won't vote. It's costing us our freedom." So I love ISRA. They endorsed me a few weeks ago. I've got an A+. I'm the only candidate with an A+ rating with NRA. So no, I'm very Second Amendment down here in the Southern Illinois. I fought for that as a state rep and as a state senator, and we'll do the same as governor.
Well, what I want everyone in Illinois to realize is that I know that when you talk to some people who got FOID cards, they're going to be like, "I don't vote because my vote doesn't count." Right? And what I would say to that is that that's what the other side thinks. That's what the other side wants you to think. That's what the other side wants you to react to. And your vote does count. And like what Darren and I are talking about here, if everyone with a FOID card got in the ball game and got involved, this state would change directions in a really, really quick time. So let's go, Illinois. Let's get in it.
That's exactly right.
Look at this. I want to ask you about this. You guys got approximately $218 billion in unfunded pension debt. What's going on there, Darren, and what are you going to do differently to fix that problem?
J.B. Pritzker's actually trying to throw that over at us, telling it and trying to convince state workers that we're going to take away their pensions, which is absolutely untrue. The reality of that, for the last 40 years, this can's been kicked down the road. Republican and Democrat governors have used that money. They've squandered it. And union leaders have allowed it to be squandered. So these men and women who continue to work and who now some of them are living off of their pensions, some of them are paying into it. There's a lot of uncertainty about if their future, if their retirement's going to be there. So we're going to have an honest conversation with a lot of these people to help them and to come up with, they believe it's secure, but unfortunately government gets in the way, elected leaders get in the way, and they squander it. And nobody really wants to talk about it because, we need our workers out there. We need union workers. Illinois is a union state. And unfortunately, nobody's having that conversation. And these poor people that are living off their pensions and earning their pensions are just kind of, holding their eyes and just hoping that it's there for them in the future, while government leaders refuse to do anything about it. There's a lot of things. There's some reform that we can make. Of course, the unions have to be at the table to understand, approve, and come up with these ideas, and merging some of this stuff into 401k plans, which is more, which is more certain for them. But unfortunately, it's going to cost a little bit more to make that happen. So there's options, there's opportunities. If J.B. Pritzker would have literally spent half of the money that came in from COVID funds from federal government over the last 6 years, we could have put a massive dent in it. But instead, he squandered, he wasted every penny.
Yeah. Well, let's make it clear, though. You and Aaron have no intention, and you and I both agree, it would be political suicide for you to try to do away with the pensions. I mean, it's just not. There's no way that's part of the.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I'll talk to these workers, and I'll pull out my pocket knife and I'll say, I'll do a blood oath with you right now. No, we're good. And a week later they come back. Now, are you sure you're not taking our pensions away? Because the Pritzker's just flooding their emails with much nonsense.
Yeah. Well, I think you and I, it doesn't matter what party you're from, you could realize that would be a very bad political move to do that. So let me ask you about this. Right now, if we're taking a look, because Aaron was talking about affordability, and you clearly have a big affordability problem in this state. Property tax, depending on the study you're looking at, you're either number 1 or number 2. Sales tax, you're either number 7 or 8. And corporate tax, you're number 3. Why would anybody on God's green earth move to Illinois? Or if you're a business owner, why would you move your business to Illinois?
That's a good question. And right now, one of the biggest factors that's affecting most businesses from moving out is their current infrastructure. You take John Deere up in Moline, and they got a beautiful facility, and of course they can't afford to replicate that and move over to Iowa. But our corporate tax here in Illinois is twice what it is in Indiana and Iowa. Yet J.B. Pritzker continues to talk about a progressive tax. He wants to tax corporations more. He believes, that's the answer. And you're right. Every large business that I've looked at all across Illinois, and many of them, they've got this backup plan where they're beginning to purchase acreage in Indiana or Tennessee and Florida. So that alone is the turnaround answer for Illinois. We create reason for businesses to come back into Illinois, and business, they're going to churn out work. So that's going to bring people back to Illinois. People are going to go to work. They're going to earn money, and that's the future of Illinois. So regarding the property tax again. Springfield, many times, J.B. Pritzker over the last 7 years of his reign has just continued to place unfunded mandates upon our schools. When those unfunded mandates come, unfortunately, it forces the local school districts, local townships to raise their levies to get the money that they operate off and need. Either that, or they just don't fix roads and they don't pay teachers. So everyone's kind of caught in a catch-22 on that. So, property taxes, I've seen there are people who own their home, have paid for their home. That's the American dream. Yet here in Illinois, you turn around and you rent it off the government, and in 10 years, usually it's a refinance situation. So and energy costs also have skyrocketed in Illinois just because of bad management from the governor's office. So no, all of this, it just needs addressed. You said it earlier when you started. Illinois does not have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem.
You massive spending.
Living in our means.
Yeah. One other thing. Your state doesn't rank too bad when we take a look at the whole state, but we got a bit of a violence problem in your largest, most populous county, a massive violence problem. And as a matter of fact, one of the morbid things that I do as Washington Gun Law, I have a tendency to pick up the paper, the Chicago paper on Mondays, and take a look at how many they slaughtered each weekend out there. What's going on in Cook County, and what are we going to do to fix that? Because Cook County, Illinois is a wonderful place. Chicago is one of the world's great cities. What are we going to do to clean that up and get Chicago back to what it needs to be?
Well, William, I have become very passionate about that. I lost my son, my daughter-in-law, and 2 grandchildren this past October, and I used to do the exact same thing. I'm kind of known for getting on Facebook and doing Facebook Lives and educating Illinois. And every Monday morning, I did the exact same thing. I'd look and I'd report, man, there's another 3, 4, 10 people killed in Chicago, and after being able to kind of pause for a few months while we mourned our family, I began to realize that I'm treating those as statistics, and those are lives. Those are sons and daughters and brothers and sisters. And that made me even more passionate as we began to go through and consider, okay, are we still in the race or we're not? And I'm in the race more than I ever have been. Chicago right now has a vacancy of 1,600 police officers. And how do you destroy a constitutional republic? Well, you create lawlessness. That's one of the 16
lawlessness and godlessness. That's how you do it.
Thank you. And unfortunately that's what's happening. I'm telling you what, this same problem, it's escalating into a lot of our other communities. Decatur, Illinois has become, crime has spiked in Decatur. And we were driving through Decatur a week ago on the evening, and they got these light up billboards all over the place. Half of the light up billboards were advertising a $5,000 sign-on stipend for police officers. So we build our police force up and we train them to adequately, to protect and to serve like they want to, so that they're honored. But then also in Cook County in particular, we've got to fix the education system, and we've got to create opportunity, because these people are getting lost. They're falling through the cracks in the education system, and then there's no opportunity. There's no job. They're not trained.
Well, and that's the thing. These problems build on each other, because we've created this unaffordability here. So now you don't have, it's impossible to buy a home. No business is coming here. Businesses are leaving. That leaves all the good, high-paying jobs. And what do people need to get out of tough neighborhoods? They need stability. They need opportunity. They need income. They need an opportunity for personal and professional growth. And there seems to be a mass exodus of that going on in Illinois right now.
Well, there is, and that's what J.B. Pritzker, government's number one role is to protect people. And unfortunately, J.B. Pritzker, as he sets his sights on a presidential campaign, he wants to convince Americans that, and this is also, we've been warned by this by our founding fathers, that, a socialist mentality, that he wants government to provide for the people. So that's, COVID was a great experiment, especially here in Illinois. And I will never personally, with every ounce of my being, go back to where government is allowed to shut down churches and shut down businesses. That'll never happen.
What's the 9 scariest words in American politics?
I'm the government, and I'm here to help you. So.
Yeah, and listen, that matters. I want you to know that I got 2 boys. My younger boy is named Reagan.
That is awesome.
Yeah. How I convinced Mrs. Gunlaw to do that, I don't really know, but she went with it. So, yeah, and if you asked him, you're like, who are you named after? He'd be like, I'm named after President Ronald Reagan. He knows that.
That's awesome.
That's been really clear. Listen, I'll let you go. I know you're a busy guy, but real quick, how can people get involved, get some skin in the game, and help elect Darren Bailey and Aaron Delmar to get down to Springfield and start turning this state around? How do they do that?
Thank you. Well, first of all, March 17th is primary the night, and at the Crown Plaza in Springfield, we are we're having a victory party. So March 17th is also my birthday. Show up and let's celebrate. I think Aaron said go to baileyforillinois.com. We need your financial support. If you want to volunteer and help out, go there. But also there's another wonderful website. It's called Blueprint for Illinois. So as you're out there talking and telling people to vote for Darren and Aaron, what's their plan? Well, go to blueprintforillinois.com and look that up. And then also one of our day one agendas is busting our $56 billion budget open and letting people know where the money's coming from and where it's going to. So you scroll all the way down at blueprintforillinois.com. There's a money tracker there. And as a matter of fact, 24 hours after we released that website a month ago, someone discovered that in the last 2 years, over $180 million of our tax dollars here in Illinois went in the name of a remodeling grant to J.B. Pritzker's very own Hyatt Hotel. Yeah, and if you go on our Facebook page, we're revealing there is so much fraud, waste, and abuse that J.B. Pritzker has been involved in. So go there, go to X and check us out, and look forward to seeing you. We look forward to winning. We've got to get the vote out, and that's all it takes.
want to say something to all the union people out here. I realize this is a union state, and I know how the unions operate. And I know they've been telling you to vote Democrat all these years, and many of you out there in these unions do that. What's the biggest problem here in the state of Illinois right now? The biggest problem is affordability. Who's it affecting most? It's affecting you people, you union workers, okay? You are the middle class in this state. You're the most important class of individuals there is in the state. And you are the class of individuals that made Illinois the state that it is, that hard blue-collar mentality. That's what Illinois is all about. What have they done for you? Not recently. What have they done for you in the last 30, 40, 50 years? And if you just keep thinking, well, I'll keep voting the same way, and suddenly we're going to turn the corner and suddenly things are going to get better, when is that day coming?
Right. Well, that day's coming November 3rd, that's 2026. So, and
all right, you'll be back on the channel when we have a little victory celebration then?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Best of luck to you, man. Thanks so much for being on the channel with us. And good luck to you, Darren. Really appreciate it. Anything we can do for you, you let us know.
God bless. Thank you.
Take care, brother. Stay safe. All right, he is your next governor of Illinois. That is Mr. Darren Bailey. We are on the fly today. We've had all sorts of technical difficulties. I want to let you know that I could not actually hear either one of them. I'm going to reset my earpiece here in a second. This is the life of a trial lawyer, everyone. You just got to pivot. You just got to pivot, man. When God gives you lemons, you got to make it into lemonade. But I do want to thank Aaron and Darren for both being here. Those are really good. And like I say, we're going to link them up down below. I think they're already in the description box. Come on, Illinois. Let's get in the ball game. So we went a little bit out of order. I got some other things I want to talk to you about. We want to have some fun today, too. Let's talk about what all of you right here have been coming over and asking about, which is, hey, when are we finally going to get some resolution and get some legwork on the Protect Illinois Communities Act, PICA? When are we finally going to get out from under that? Well, here's what I want to tell you. Is my education lesson number one, Illinois, is I want you to understand that if you are looking for relief to come from this state, it's not coming. It's not coming. It's not going to come from the 7th Circuit. It's not going to come from any court in Illinois. Now, is that the end of the world? No, it's not. Help is going to come, and help is going to come from the United States Supreme Court. Now, for those of you who've been geeking out and watching Washington Gun Law AM with us every Monday morning, we'll be live again this Monday, 8:30 out here in Illinois. We'll be live from the Holiday Inn Express in Elgin, Illinois, is where we'll be doing that one from. You know that we've been tracking 5 cases, including a case here out of Illinois, Viramontes v. Cook County, a challenge to Cook County's assault weapon ban. There are 4 other cases, 2 magazine ban cases, Duncan v. Bonta, Gators Customs Gun versus State of Washington. There are 2 additional assault weapon ban cases, both coming out of Connecticut. One is NAGR v. Lamont. The other one is a case called Grant v. Higgins. Any one of those 5 cases, Illinois, if any one of those 5 cases were to be taken, it would be significant. It would be life-changing. It would be a size shift in Second Amendment litigation. This is what I want you guys all to be most aware of, because there's a case that no one's talking about. And it comes out of the 3rd Circuit. It comes out of the state of New Jersey, and it is the matter of Cheeseman v. Platkin. Now, here's what I want you to be aware of. I know that you guys all have a lot of frustration about what we do on Monday mornings, and it always seems like the can's getting kicked down the road. And remember, we went through the whole Snoke v. Brown and Ocean State tactical fiasco last summer, or last spring, where it was kicked down the road. Eventually, like in May, they're like, nope, we're not taking the cases. And the dismay that came from the Second Amendment community was palpable at that point. All right. Here's why Cheeseman becomes so big. One of the criteria that the United States Supreme Court will look at in deciding, do we take this case, is do we have a circuit split? So if you have a challenge to a law that has been ruled unconstitutional in one circuit but been upheld in another circuit, you now have individuals, depending on what geographic region of the United States they're living in, that are living under different constitutional standards. And that is not the way it is supposed to work. So a circuit split has always been almost a virtual guarantee that the court will take the case. The problem when it comes with assault weapon bans and magazine bans, Illinois, is we don't have a circuit split. We don't. The 7th Circuit, the 4th Circuit, the 1st Circuit, and the 9th Circuit have all said, hey, they're perfectly okay. We don't have rulings out of the Fifth Circuit because you're not going to have Louisiana, Mississippi, or Texas pass an assault weapon or a magazine ban. This is what I like to call the jurisdictional bubbles, okay? So what we've always needed is some kind of crazy liberal state with a conservative circuit court sitting over the top. That is what's happened in the Third Circuit over the last 6 years. Interestingly enough, between Trump 1.0 and Trump 2.0, he's been able to appoint 5 justices to the Third Circuit. Joe Biden only got to appoint 1 justice. So what has happened is a seismic shift in the politics of the Third Circuit, to the point where, again, if you're going by which president actually selected them, what you're talking about is an 8-6 conservative majority. Now, the New Jersey assault weapon ban goes in front of a 3-judge panel of the Third Circuit. They have oral arguments set. We're ready to go. Here we go. We're going to do this argument. And suddenly, the full en banc panel of the Third Circuit steps in and takes the case. Now, why is that important? Well, in the Ninth Circuit, that would be really, really bad news because, they're going to screw us. But we didn't necessarily see it as bad news. We saw it as really positive news. And then you listen to the oral arguments of that case. And again, not an exact science, but if you're reading the tea leaves from the oral arguments, you will sit there and go, dang, I think Cheeseman's going to win this case. And if the justices voted, conservative justice voted to ban or to strike the law down, the liberal justices stayed home and said it was okay, you would win 8-6. This is why this needs to happen, Illinois. And for those of you who might be watching in California, Maryland, New York, any of these places that have assault weapon bans and magazine bans. If Cheeseman wins, we have a circuit split. If Cheeseman wins, the New Jersey Attorney General, who's no longer Matthew Platkin, I'd have to look the name up, is going to crap themselves. They're going to absolutely crap their pants, and they're going to appeal immediately. And at that point, now the Supreme Court is sitting on a petition for an assault weapon ban that has an identifiable circuit split on it, and it really forces the Supreme Court's hand, okay? So the case you need to carefully watch, in addition to the 5 cases that we'll cover every Monday morning for you, but the case that's most important to watch is Cheeseman v. Platkin out of the Third Circuit. And I'm telling you, the day that ruling comes out, I will be in front of a camera getting you all educated. That is a critical case. There is another case that came out of Washington, D.C. this week. Now, I want to correct some things because some people out on X was saying, well, we got a circuit split. We got our circuit split. Wrong. You don't have a circuit split because that was the D.C. Court of Appeals, not the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. It was not the federal court. It is a federal court. But it would be the same as saying the Illinois State Court had ruled one way and the Fourth Circuit ruled a different way. That would not constitute a circuit split. So is it as significant as some content creators made it out to be? No, it's not. Is it significant? Yes, it is. Is it a positive development? A very positive development. And we'll be doing a video. We're going to record it later today. It'll probably be out tomorrow or Monday, where we went through the ruling. And I got to be honest with you, it's a great ruling because I think the justices there wanted to uphold the magazine ban. I think that the way they see the world politically, where they're coming from, they were absolutely in favor of the magazine ban. But the case law is very clear. And kudos to the judges, they stuck to the case law. And they basically, regrettably, struck the ban down. But they did so by just following the plain language of the case. And this is what I've always said about if we can get an assault weapon ban or a magazine ban before the United States Supreme Court. This is not a complicated equation. This is common use test. A lot of people think it comes from Heller. It actually comes from a case way before that called Miller. But it's a simple rule of law. If an item is in common use for lawful purposes, it may not be banned. That's it. Under the Second Amendment, if a firearm is in common use for lawful purposes, it may not be banned. Magazines that hold more than 10 rounds, there's probably at least 1 billion of them in the world, or at least in the United States. And I say that because NSSF's report had it at 877 million. So there is no more common long gun in America than the semi-automatic rifle, which accepts a detachable magazine in the AR and AK platform. 7 Supreme Court justices has already referred to it as the most common firearm. ATF has also referred to it as the most common long gun in America. It is not in common use for self-defense. It is not in common use for anything. It is in common use for lawful purposes. That is the test. If it's in common use, it may not be struck down. Let us remember that the United States Supreme Court, in the matter of Catano versus Massachusetts, struck down a ban of stun guns when they only had a number of 200,000. So Whether or not 200,000 is truly the threshold, I don't know. Let's make it 1 million. Let's make it 5 million. It doesn't matter, because when it comes to AR-15s, when it comes to magazines that hold more than 10 million, we are talking the millions and millions and millions. So that is a really, really important case. The case out of D.C., just so you know, is a case called Benson versus the United States. I think the ruling came out either Wednesday or Thursday. We were traveling, so we didn't have a chance to get to it yet. But that's the case out of D.C. We'll have a video on it. And then, of course, Monday morning, we'll be live 9:30 on the East Coast, 8:30 out here in Illinois, 6:30 out on the West Coast, WGL AM. I'll be joined again by Costas Moros from the Second Amendment Foundation. They have a case. They're the Duncan V. Monta case. And Anna Hill from the National Association for Gun Rights. They have the NAGR versus Mont case. So they both, their organization actually have cases. Now, let's talk about some Illinois stuff. All right. Illinois, you got a big deadline coming up. You got a big deadline coming up March 27th. Any House bill needs to be out of committee, theoretically, by March 27th, or otherwise it is toast. Now, I built a relationship here in Illinois by covering some pretty nefarious things that your state legislature did. We're going to talk about a bill that I have said arguably is the most evil gun bill that I have ever seen in the history of the United States. And that is not hyperbole. I don't try to clickbait people. I try not to get too much into that over-the-top stuff. But what I want to talk to you about is House Bill 3320. House Bill 3320 is known as the Rifle Act. What it should be called is the bill that will absolutely demolish the entire gun industry in the state of Illinois, because House Bill 3320, if enacted into law, would require every manufacturer, every retailer, every wholesaler, everybody who wants to do business in the state of Illinois in the firearm industry to get licensed. And you're like, okay, well, how bad is it? Well, here's the deal. The license is going to be based upon what the state of Illinois believes is your proportional share of the cost of Illinois' gun violence problem. Think about that for a second, all right? When we take a look at the actual statute here, it says right there, the sum of all fees for firearm manufacturer licenses shall be equal to the public health costs and financial burdens from firearm injuries and deaths. And oh, by the way, when we're talking about the cost, as you can see, yeah, we're getting deep into the woods. It's not just the direct actual cost of gun violence. It's all sorts of collateral costs that come with it. Now, here's the other thing I need you to be aware of. You would be funding any costs that come from firearm suicides, because they're going to include suicides in gun violence, in the gun violence numbers, as well as homicides. What you have here is a statute that's going to extort exorbitant fees out of all sorts of manufacturers and things like that, retailers and everybody. And you're just going to get a lot of companies like, no, I'm not going to pay these fees. It's not worth it. Let me give you an idea of how bad it is. We don't have an actual number of what Illinois' gun violence cost is. Neither does the state legislature. So they just kind of pick the random number of what they got to generate their first year. I want you to look at that number. That number is $866 million. That is almost $1 billion in fees to be collected the first year. Now, I know there's a lot of manufacturers, a lot of retailers, a lot of wholesalers, a lot of FFLs, but you're going to divvy up $866 million. And if you're a company like Glock, okay, Glock sells a lot of handguns in the state. Glock has issues with Glock switches. Glocks are popular with a lot of things, and I'm sure there's been lots of Glocks recovered at crime scenes. No knock on Glock at all. Just that's the way it works, right? Firearms that are in high circulation have a tendency to show up at crime scenes more frequently as well. Glock could be looking at $20 million in licensing fees to do business in the state of Washington, or state of Illinois, maybe more. Now, if you're Glock, if you and I are president and vice president of Glock, why on God's green earth will we pay that fee? They just better not to do business in the state of Illinois. And the state of Illinois knows that, okay? And, of course, then if Glock quits doing business in the state of Illinois, they won't pay their $20 million share. But that $866 million is still owed, which means it's adding cost to everybody else. So it is an absolutely horrific bill. It would devastate even the GAT Guns, the big boys in the industry like that. It would devastate that. Your small mom-and-pop operations that have been operating out in rural parts of Illinois, serving those communities for decades. They'll be done, okay? And there will be a lot of manufacturers who will simply just pull up stakes and be like, it's cost prohibitive to do business in the state of Illinois. Absolutely cost prohibitive. And so that is a bill that you need to very carefully watch. I want all of you to watch it. Call your representatives. Tell them to knock this crap off. It is House Bill 3320. And it literally has the ability to completely and forever destroy the FFL industry, the gun industry, and your access to Second Amendment rights here in the state of Illinois. So, please, everyone get on board. We need you. We need you to fight against House Bill 3320. Okay, I think that's most of the educational material we got. Let me go back through my slides here real quick. All right, well, we're gonna play a little game here. The game's called What the F Do You Know? And we're going to see how well some of you who are watching, all 343 of you right now, thank you very much for checking in, tuning in live. We're going to play a little game. We're going to do a little trivia game about the state of Illinois and see how well you do. So you can put your answers down in the description box. What are you going to win? Bragging rights. I suppose I could say, oh, yeah, come on down to GAT Guns. They'll give you a new Benelli shotgun, but I haven't cleared that yet. So it's for bragging rights. All right. I want to find out how well you guys know some stuff about the state of Illinois. So here we go. Question number 1. In what year did Illinois adopt the FOID card? We can play the Jeopardy music here right now real quick, but I want to see down in the comment section below, what year do you guys believe that Illinois first introduced the FOID card, which, by the way, is one of the most nefarious pieces of gun control legislation anywhere in the country, but a side note. All right. You guys got your answers in? Here we go. The answer is 1968. You guys have been living under this law now since 1968. That's absolutely amazing. So the FOID card went into effect 1968. If you got that answer right, give yourself a point. If you got it wrong, give yourself a point anyways, because, hey, no one's checking your answers. All right, here we go. Next question. Very famous case. What year was McDonald versus Chicago decided? Huge case. Otis McDonald. Big case, massive. Everyone who studies Second Amendment litigation knows the McDonald case. All right. What year was that case? That case was in 2010. All right. 16 years ago. Huge case. All right. Now, we had some other cases. We're going to talk about this one. In what year was Ezell versus City of Chicago Part 1? Let's remember that McDonald dealt with handgun bans inside the city of Chicago. Ezell versus Chicago 1 dealt with whether or not when they tried to ban gun ranges inside the city of Chicago. And Rhonda Ezell, love her to death, challenged that, saying, well, the Second Amendment also includes the right to train and become proficient in the use of a firearm, which it does. And so she successfully sued. That case was actually in 2011. All right. But then, as you know, Rhonda had to do another round with the city of Chicago. So my next question for you is, in what year was Ezell versus City of Chicago Part 2? All right. Go ahead and put your answers in the description box. Again, if you got the answers so far right, give yourself a point. If you didn't, give yourself a point anyways, because like I say, there's no referee. The answer, Ezell versus City of Chicago 2, took place in 2017. All right. So, final question. We'll get outside Second Amendment stuff. Now, we're going to find out how good you guys know Washington gun law, because for those of you who've been geeking out, I've been very clear about this. But, all right, here's today's question. It's a subjective one. What's the best band ever to come out of Illinois? What is the best band? I'm a music guy. What's the best band to come out of Illinois? Listen, Illinois, you got a fantastic music scene here. It could be Earth, Wind, and Fire. Amazing library. Generational music. Kind of really music of the 70s. It could be, but I don't think so. Could be, of course, Chicago. Chicago has, I think, about 17, 18 studio albums. Fantastic band. Groundbreaking music. But it's not Chicago. It could be Styx, and if you've ever seen Styx live, you will know that that band is absolutely oozing talent, especially Tommy Shaw. He's absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, they also did Mr. Roboto, which kind of screwed up their whole library there. But all right, but is it Styx? No, it's not Styx. Now, here's a band that comes out of Illinois, actually recently inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It is REO Speedwagon. It's the best band in the history of Illinois. REO Speedwagon. I don't know. Some people may say that the best band to ever come out of Illinois is the Smashing Pumpkins. Again, very popular band. If you've ever seen them live, leaves a little something to be desired, a little frantic up there. But anyways, well, all fantastic bands, But the best band to ever come out of the state of Illinois has just released their 22nd studio album. They have the number 3 top-selling live album of all time. They are America's hardest working rock and roll band. They are the one, the only, except no substitute, Cheap Trick. And I do want everyone in Illinois to know that I will be seeing Cheap Trick next month for my 41st time, and then heading down to Los Angeles in August to see Cheap Trick for my 42nd time. So that's one of the reasons I feel so connected to the state, is the one, the only, the greatest American rock and roll band of all time, Cheap Trick. Listen, I want to tell you guys a little story real quick. How is it that we have this great relationship with GAT Guns? It's a funny story, and we're going to kind of end on this funny story. So I was covering, as you guys know, that those who've been geeking out with us for a while, I started covering the PICA Act when it was first kicking around, and it went through the legislature quick. It was like 72 hours, and suddenly it's good law. And then, of course, the lawsuits started dropping, and there was this countdown to registration, confiscation, and all this crap. And we were very carefully watching this lawsuit down in Effingham County, down in the southern part of the state. And the word I was getting is, hey, this judge is a no BS kind of judge. We got a real shot of winning this thing down there. So I carefully watched it, and I was telling everyone in Illinois, hey, listen, I'm hearing good things. I'm hearing there's possibilities. Get ready to go buy something if, in fact, we actually get a good ruling, because there's going to be an injunction, and you might maybe have a chance to go in and purchase something lawfully. So we're following that case. All of a sudden, boom, the injunction gets dropped, and I'm hearing rumors that gun stores are absolutely lines out the door in Illinois, which I thought was pretty cool. So I decide I want to interview somebody from an Illinois gun store. All right, I just want to interview someone. So I start calling around. I don't know if GAT Guns was the first store I called, but they were the first one to answer. And the person I spoke to is the manager here, Nicole, who is absolutely wonderful. By the way, go find Nicole, because we're going to make her get on the channel here real quick. So if you can, go find her real quick. So I call, and one of the people here all the great workers they got here answered the phone, and I told them who I was and I wanted to interview. And they're like, well, let me get us our manager. And so they put Nicole on the phone. I'm like, hey, what's going on at the gun club today? And she's like, oh my God, we got a line out the door. We got a line around the block. We're blowing these things out. I've never had a day like this before in my life. And I was like, hey, you want to come on to Washington Gun Law, and you want to, do an interview. And so way back in 2023, May of 2023, we did this video right here with Nicole. That was the first time that she had appeared on the channel. She's going to come over here right now because I want everyone to see Nicole. Say hi to everyone here, Nicole.
Hi, everybody.
And this is Nicole's now 4th time on the channel.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Bill.
Hey, and listen, if you're not hanging out at GAT Guns and you're not here for Factory Shoot, what's up with that? Seriously, get over here. Best gun club in Illinois, and what they're doing with Factory Shoot is incredible. She's the best. She's my emotional support pet, we like to call it sometimes. But
that's right.
That's Nicole. This is GAT Guns. Thank you for being here, and thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, it's the best. All right, now you know the history. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now you know the history of why Washington Gun Law and GAT Guns has such a great relationship. It's just by chance. I mean, she picked up the phone. She was fun to talk to on the phone. I was like, oh, you're probably going to be pretty good on the channel. Had her on the channel. She was great, and the rest is history. Now, we're going to be here all day tomorrow again for Factory Shoot. If you guys aren't coming by for Factory Shoot, what's up with that? You want to see all the new cool stuff. We got Smith & Wesson. We got Springfield. We got Sig down here. We got CZ. We got Beretta. We got everybody. Got Kimber over here. And anything you like that you want to take onto the range and give it a test, you get to do that. All right. So rifles too. They got the long range range here as well. So if you want to come out and check out the new rifles, come on down, buy lots of guns while you still can. This is Illinois. God only knows where your Second Amendment rights are going to go in a few years. Okay, now for all of you still in Illinois, we're going to be back here Monday night doing a class on how to stay out of prison. That's going to be here at 5 p.m. at GAT Guns. And then as you can see from there, we're going to start meandering down to the central and the southern part of state, because I heard what you guys all said out there. You're like, you need to come to the central and the southern part of the state. Well, we are. We're going to be down in Bartonville on March 10th. We're going to be in Bloomington March 11th. We're going to be in Quincy March 12th. And we're going to be at Piazza Armory in East Alton on March 13th. I'm actually flying home from St. Louis, Missouri. So I am going to spend a whole week, get to drive. And I want you to know that the very first Kirk ever to come to the United States, that's William Halliday Kirk Sr., jumped off a boat in Nova Scotia back in about the 1850s, actually settled outside the Springfield area and was a farmer there until he joined the Union Army in 1861 for the Civil War. And upon conclusion of his service in the United States Army, was given 40 acres of land. Pretty awesome. The cruel joke was they gave him 40 acres of land out in the state, or at that time, the Washington Territory. So William Halliday in 1883 hopped on a wagon train from St. Louis, went all the way out to Elmira, Washington, not far from the Grand Coulee Dam, and that's where the Kirk homestead is set up. He's the first Kirk to come to the United States. He's buried there. Every Kirk in my family that's ever lived in the United States is buried somewhere in the state of Washington. My dad was the most recent one to go into the ground a couple years ago. He had a great run. He made it all the way to 93 years of age. God was good to both. So one of the most common questions I get is, what are you still doing in Washington, Bill? Why are you still there? And when you know my history and you know that everybody that's ever been a Kirk in the United States is in the dirt somewhere in Washington State, my response oftentimes is, where the hell am I supposed to go? Where am I supposed to go? This is my home state. This is my home. And I know there's a lot of you out there here in Illinois that have a similar journey. You go back generation after generation after generation. As far as you've traced the family tree back, there are people that lived in Illinois. There are relatives, loved ones that are buried in the state of Illinois. And you sit there and you say to yourself, I don't know where I would go. This is home to me. I get that. Okay. And I want to give you a piece of advice as we kind of wrap everything up here today, is that I made a decision a long time ago that I was probably going to stay in Washington as long as I could. I will be honest with you that those days are waning, and there may be a time when I leave Washington. But one of the promises I made to myself when I stayed in Washington, and I want all of you to make the same promise to me, Illinois, is that if you're going to stay, I would rather see you stay and die on your feet than stay and live on your knees. Okay? When I heard that 25 to 35% of FOID card holders are the only ones that are voting, I'm sorry, but that's a little on the pathetic side. Illinois, if you're going to stay and you want to bitch about what's going on, then get into the game. For all you FOID card holders out there who, I don't vote because my vote doesn't count. That's what they've been telling you. That's what they've been thinking, and you're just playing into their hand. Again, if you're going to stay in a state like Illinois, stand on your feet, die on your feet. Don't stay here, get on your knees, and live that way. Okay, there's a big difference between living and surviving. And I think a lot of you in Illinois right now, all you're doing is surviving. It's time to take your state back. It's time to start bringing sanity, fiscal responsibility, humanity back into your state, and start bringing back the principles of our constitutional republic back to the state. So once again, for those of you who love to geek out with us, we will be live again. It will be Monday morning, 8:30 Illinois time, 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast. We'll be back for WGL AM with Hannah Hill and Costas Moros. We're going to be at all of these locations right here. And listen, we still got a few spots available at all of them. Come on by. You guys go to the range all the time and practice so that you don't end up in the morgue. What I'm going to teach you how to do is to stay out of prison also, because we got to stay out of the morgue and we got to stay out of prison. I want to thank everyone at Right to Bear for being kind enough to bring me out here to Illinois. If you're at Factory Shoot, come on by. Talk to my boy DJ Schilling over here with Right to Bear. find out what they got to offer. The biggest thanks by far, without a doubt, unquestioned, goes to everybody here at GAT Guns. They got an amazing staff. They got an amazing facility. Top to bottom, this is a world-class facility. If you haven't been to GAT Guns, what's up with that? Okay, I want to thank Darren Bailey. I want to thank Aaron Del Mar for taking time to hop on to Washington Gun Law. It was a real honor to be able to have them. Listen, Illinois, keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting. This state is worth fighting for, okay? I meet all the people out here. You guys got wonderful people, wonderful communities, wonderful culture. You are an important component of what is Americana, and this state deserves better than what you've got. It's time for you guys to take back your state and get what you deserve. Get what you deserve. So thank you very much for everyone who's tuned in today. Thanks to everyone who hopped on to the show. Thanks for everyone out in Illinois supporting Washington Gun Law. There are some months where I actually have more subscribers in Illinois than I do in Washington. I can't thank you all enough. The amount of freedom that you've given me to become a full-time content creator is large part due to the support that I've gotten out of all the great folks in Illinois. Thank you so much for joining us. And most importantly, all of you, stay safe.
Peace,